This is how to write a simple yet powerful one-page business plan, and I will be presenting this for you. I'm Mike Cerrone. I'm the host of Success Calls on the Mastermind Agent Network, and I'm excited to get this information out to you today. So why write a business plan? I think there's one simple answer here, and that is focus. When I survey agents, this is what I hear. I don't know what to do. How do I get motivated? I feel lost. I know what to do, but how do I get myself to do it? Do you ever ask yourself these questions? Then you need focus. Okay, Mike, so how do you get the focus? Well, I think there's a simple way to do this. If you'll set a goal and then write yourself out a path on how to get to that goal and then track as you move along, I think you're going to be motivated each and every day. So let's achieve all three, and it's going to start with writing a simple one-page business plan. To make it even easier, I designed a template for you. So if you'll enter info into just 23 simple little boxes, the template will automatically auto-populate your business plan. It's pretty cool, so let's take a look. Here's where you start. It's the worksheet, and so I put it there on the right. It's very hard to see, but I wanted to give you just a big overall perspective. There's a lot of type in there, but there's only 23 little yellow boxes, and if you'll fill in those 23 little boxes with your information, the spreadsheet is going to do the rest. And so let's look at that worksheet first. Again, this is how to build your own one-page plan. And it's, of course, compliments of Mastermind Agent right here at the Agent B Plan Summit. You're going to enter your information below, and the results are going to populate throughout the spreadsheet. And I wanted to point out to you, if you haven't seen this before, it's an Excel spreadsheet, and it has multiple sheets throughout it. And at the bottom of the spreadsheet, when you open this up, your own template, just look for some tabs at the bottom, and that red arrow is pointing to the line there. Right now it's going to be on worksheet. The other two are going to be B plan front and B plan back. I'll explain that later. B plan back is kind of a bonus for you, but if you enter your information into the worksheet, it'll auto-populate itself through. And let's take a closer look. So if we're looking right now at the worksheet itself, you'll notice we have a bunch of blank yellow boxes there. You're going to enter your information, your particular and personal information into those boxes, and then it's going to auto-calculate some information and then plug it into the final product, which is, again, I'm pretty excited about it, but it's pretty cool. So let's show an example. Let's say that you're going to make this plan for next year, 2014. I like to start with how much money do you want to take home? Kind of like if you were to work for somebody else, what would be your salary that you would take home to your family to live on? And so let's say that you want to take home $100,000. Then you type in $100,000 in the yellow. Notice on the right it says enter. All those places where it says enter, that's where you plug in and calculate the computer's doing the work in the background. Next one is the net profit margin. You need to estimate your net profit margin. You can do it from prior years, or if you don't know a number, then go ahead for right now and just estimate 50%. And then as you go through and you get more experience, you can move that number up or down based on what's happening in your business. Well, if you know those two numbers, the computer is going to calculate that your gross commission income dollars next year need to be $200,000. So if you'll bring $200,000 into the top of your business, you'll walk out at the end of the year with $100,000. So that's kind of what's going on there. Other things that you need to enter are your average sales price. And for this example, I said, well, let's say that our average home is selling for $200,000. And then you have to enter your average commission rate as a percent. I said, okay, how about if your average is 2.5%? It may be a little higher, maybe lower, but let's just say that over the course of the year, you're going to estimate that you're making 2.5% on each transaction. And that's the gross commission dollars coming in the front for your side, either the sell side or the buy side. That would mean that the computer does a little calculation for you. It says, hey, that means your average commission in dollars is $5,000. Next thing it wants to know is, what percentage of your transactions are going to be buy side and sell side. And you may know they may be weighted one way or the other. If you'll enter your buy side, in this case I wrote 50%, the computer will automatically calculate, well, the other side of that's going to be, in this case, 50%. If you were to write buy side 70%, it would say, okay, sell side 30%. So it'll help you out and speed things along there. Once you entered that information above, it started to crunch numbers, and here's some of the early results we already get. The total gross commission income that you'll bring in next year will be $200,000. You're going to split that, and so the buyer side you'll bring in $100,000, and the sell side you'll bring in $100,000. Kind of hard to look at those big numbers sometimes, and so it helps to break it down per month. So as you're moving along, you're seeing if you're reaching your goals. So the total gross commission income per month is going to be just over $16,000. Since it's half and half, your buy side you're going to bring in just over $8,000, and your sell side just over $8,000. Sometimes it helps to look at it transactionally. How many homes do you actually have to sell? And if we look at it first per year, you'll need to sell 40 homes next year to hit your goal of bringing in $200,000 in gross commission income and $100,000 in take home. Each for the year, if you break that out, you'll need to bring in 20 buyer transactions and 20 seller transactions. Again, getting it down to the monthly side, number of homes per month, you're basically going to sell about 3 to 4 homes each month. On the buy side, it's going to be 1 to 2 transactions. On the sell side, 1 to 2 transactions, and that's going to get you to your goal. Oftentimes, it helps to think about sales volume. Some people like to think in these terms. You can be monitoring your transactions this way. But for the year, you're going to need to sell about $8 million worth of property to hit your goal. That'll be up $4 million on the buy side and $4 million on the sell side. If you looked at it monthly, you're going to need to sell just over $650,000 worth of properties each month, just over $3,000 on the buy side, and again, just over $3,000 on the sell side. Excuse me, $300,000. I think this is an interesting number. This is conversations per closing, And what this means is that if you have a certain number of conversations or follow-up calls with your leads where you're actually talking to someone either on the phone or in person, if you have a certain number of these conversations, because remember, of course, real estate is relational, so if you are building these relationships and talking to people, how many of those conversations does it take to result in one closed transaction? The industry average is right around 40. Yours may be higher or lower than that, and you should start monitoring this number. But we're going to say 40 for now. By the way, I should mention, you're not seeing the entire worksheet. Over to the right, beside to the right of where it says enter or calculate, there are all kinds of givens for you. So if you hit a stumbling block and you say, I don't know what to put in here, just look over to the right, and it'll usually give you a lot of hints. So again, the average is 40. Let's go ahead and plug that in. What this means is that in order to hit your goal, you're going to need to have 1,600 conversations next year. Sounds like a lot, so let's start breaking that down. That means 133 conversations per month, and most important is 7 conversations per day. To get to that per day, by the way, I assume you're working 5 days a week. I know a lot of us agents work a lot more than that, but I'm going to assume that you've got control of your life. You're taking a couple of days off each week, and we'll say that you have 7 conversations each day, about 35 conversations per week. By the way, I think that that's one of your key numbers, and if you'll just focus on having 7 conversations, actual real-life conversations, by the way, not a voicemail, not sending out an email, but actually talking to someone, either on the phone or in person, 7 times per day, you're going to hit the goal of bringing home $100,000 next year, given the numbers that we have here. Now the question is, how do you get enough people to have those 7 conversations? Well, you need to have lead generation methods, and we're going to have 3 main lead generation methods. I don't think you need to have 100. I think you need to have maybe 1 or 2, or at the most maybe 3 really solid lead generation methods that you can focus on and become an expert at. Let's go through a couple here. In this example, we're going to say we're going to go and talk to our past clients in sphere of influence. By the way, that is probably the #1 lead generation source for most top agents. The majority of the top agents I talk to generate somewhere around 40, 50, 60% of their business from their past clients and their sphere of influence. And you should probably build your organization to do something similar. Right in the next line, the number of closings per year, you had to decide of the 40 closings that you need next year, how many are going to come from this method. And I said around half, or about 20 closings. Next question is an interesting one. It's leads per closing. And again, over to the right, you can't see it, so I took this little red line down to show you what would be over there. And based on the type of leads that you're generating, it will tell you how many of those you need to bring in to end up with 1 closing. Past clients and sphere of influence that we have here is a very high quality lead. And so basically, if you bring in 2 of those leads, you'll end up closing 1 of them. You'll notice some of the other options. If you look down at the bottom of that arrow, that red arrow, it says internet equals 50. Basically, internet leads, although they're plentiful and you can bring a lot of them in, they're typically a lower quality. They don't know you yet, and so you have to work with a lot of them to end up with a closing, and a good rule of thumb is 50. For sell-by owners, expireds, geographic farms, sign calls, open houses, they're going to be a little stronger. They have a little better relationship or a little more motivation. And so we'll say that 10 of those, out of 10 of those leads, you'll end up with 1 closing. These are good rules of thumb. If you know your actual numbers and your conversion rates, then go ahead and plug those in. But here's some good numbers if you don't. So back up to the top on the 3rd line, leads per closing, we're going to put in 2 because these are our past clients' sphere of influence. Next line down, we've got number of leads per year. So the computer's going to start crunching this for us and say, okay, if you want to do this type of lead generation, you're going to need 40 of these leads next year. You're going to need just over 3 of these per month and 0.2 per day, which is kind of small, but that's basically 1 a week. If you can bring in 1 of these a week, since they're such high quality, you'll end up with your 20 closings next year. Next part is to describe how you're going to do it. We just want a short little blurb here, just some real highlights. And here's what we wrote in for this one. We're going to say for past clients and sphere of influence, let's go ahead and mail out a newsletter 12 times per year through the actual snail mail. Go ahead and call 3 times per year, and that's the big one. You want to actually talk to them 3 times per year. It's okay here to leave voicemail, but your goal is to talk to them, make a connection. And then the last part is 2 client parties per year. Client parties are fantastic because not only at the party itself, you're getting in front of your people and you're making this really tight connection and building that relationship, but also the leading up to the party and then the after party, you're typically able to make somewhere around 5 to 6 contacts to talk about that event. When you're doing the invitations and all the way leading up, usually have 4 or 5 of those, letting people know about the party. You're touching base with them. You're sending out mail, email, calling them on the phone. And then after the event itself, you can send out a post-event link to an email where you can show pictures or post them on your Facebook page. Get people involved in the event even if they weren't there. So parties are really a fantastic way to get in touch with these people and give you a reason to contact them, so it doesn't sound so informal or maybe salesy, where you're saying, hey, who do you know who wants to buy or sell? It gives you an opportunity to just start talking in a more laid-back format. Okay, so what else do we have here? More lead generations. We've got lead generation method number 2. We've got expireds, and we know that these folks want to sell their home, so they're a really strong target. Closings per year. Out of the 40, we're going to say we're going to generate 10 closings from our expired listing campaign. Number 3, leads per closing, we're going to say are 10. And we go back to, remember our chart from the page before was that it's going to take 10 of these leads to result in one closing. So they're better than internet leads, but they're not as strong as sphere of influence, and we estimate that that's what's going to take to make this work. If you know those numbers and you enter them in the yellow, what pops back is we have some calculation of the number of leads you're going to need next year. Going to need 100 leads coming in from expireds, and that basically breaks down to just a little bit over 8 each month, 0.4 per day, or basically 2 per week. So let's describe how you're going to do that. Well, first of all, you're going to pull the expireds every day off your MLS or some other system. If you use an outside vendor like a RedX, a Vulcan 7, there's different companies out there that can do this for you as well, but somehow you want to pull in these expireds each day. You want to call. You want to get on the phone and call these people weekly, once a week for 12 weeks. Make sure you stay in front of them. That'll be much longer than your competition. Your competition might call them once or twice and fall off. You're going to stick with them. And also mail out once a week for 12 weeks. So these folks are receiving a call or voicemail from you. They're also receiving something in the mail. By the way, if you do that over a course of 12 weeks, they have 24 contacts with you. They know who you are now. They know that you're aggressive, that you really want to help them, and that you're going to use that same aggressive stance to help them sell their home, the home that didn't sell the first time around. So that's your expired lead generation method. Let's look at the third method. Let's pick internet. Let's say that you go after some internet leads here. How many closings do you want from this source next year? We had 40 total that we needed. We've already done 20 and 10, so we've got 10 left over. Let's say we're going to do 10 closings next year from internet leads. Next question is, how many leads per closing? We talked about the fact that internet leads are a lower quality when they come in. They don't know you yet. We don't know their motivation. So a good rule of thumb is to say you're going to need 50 of those leads to result in one closing. Well, you enter that information in the yellow, the computer spits back out at you that you're going to need 500 leads next year, 500 internet leads, basically a little over 40 per month, or 2 per day. 2 per day are going to need to come in. Next, you're going to describe in a couple quick sentences, short sentences, how are you going to do this? Well, first of all, you need some way to capture these leads as they're coming in. So right here we say get Real Pro Systems Stealth Site. That's one vendor. There are multiple vendors. They're all fantastic. Real Pro is used by a lot of the top agents, so that's why it's listed here. You need to invest some money to generate those leads. So let's say that you're going to put some ads out on Facebook with some targeted ads. You're going to create a campaign that'll go out there consistently every day. You're going to put a budget on it of $10 per day, and that'll be kicking back some leads into your stealth site that can be captured and so forth. Also, you're thinking about maybe you could get some free leads. You'll just do a little more manual effort, and if you'll post, so let's say 3 ads per day to Craigslist, that'll generate some leads for you as well. So that's kind of your plan for how you're going to generate these leads to create these conversations that you need, the 7 per day, to end up taking home $100,000. The last part here is to talk about your costs. We've mentioned that you're going to have to generate $200,000 in gross commission income. You want to take home $100,000. That means basically there's going to be $100,000 of cost next year. Well, how's that going to break out? Well, most of us have a broker that we need to compensate for them providing the desk and the office and the contacts and so forth, training. And let's say that we're going to pay our broker 20% of the gross commission income. Well, over the course of the year then, that would be $40,000 in dollars. So you'll notice if you'll put in the percentage, the computer will calculate the dollars. Next, you've got marketing and lead generation. You need to put some money and effort there. You should be wise about how you're doing that, but you need to put some money there. That's the lifeblood of your business. You got to bring those leads in. So let's say you're going to put 10% of your budget into lead generation. This will crunch the numbers and say, okay, that's a $20,000 budget next year. Next would be staff and operation. You may need staff as an assistant, a helper, someone either full-time or part-time to help you move along. And also operation costs, those would be things like your desk, your computer, your cell phone, gas for your car, all these little incidentals that just add up, your MLS bills, your realtor dues. Those are all things that you need to have in order to operate, and so you've got to be prepared for that, and that's what's going in there. Finally, education. You got to keep yourself and your mind sharp and focused and open to new ideas that you can incorporate in your business, or simply ideas to make yourself get more efficient in what you're currently doing. So don't forget to have some education budget there so that you can invest in yourself in personal development. I've talked to some agents that really blew my mind, where they'll spend 10% on education, 10% of their gross, and their grosses are 7 figures, which means their education budget is somewhere around $100,000 per year. This is their personal education. And I talked to a top agent and said, are you really investing that kind of money in yourself each year? And the answer was yes. So you need to keep that in the back of your mind, that you want to continually improve your own mind and your own situation so you can move forward. Keep your mind open. Then down here at the bottom we have other as a percent and then as a dollar amount. You may have, if this other is a positive number, it gives you a little bit of a cushion. If it's a negative number, you do have a problem because you're overspent, and so you need to go back up into the top these 4 items and recalculate, somehow figure out how to rework your budget so that number at the bottom on other comes down to either 0 or a slight positive number. All right, so this was the worksheet. We entered all the information in there. Let's now take a look at how it's going to auto-populate out into the one-page business plan. Let's take a closer look at this. This is going to be your one-page business plan on the right. Looks like a bunch of crazy boxes, and you know, I think it's a beautiful-looking plan, but that's only because I know it's in there. It actually is really more utilitarian, but you'll see that this will help focus your mind on exactly what you need to do. So let's break that thing down. Number one, we've got this. This is what the printout's going to look like and what you're going to look at each day. The business plan is the first thing at the top, the very tip top up here is your goal, and your goal is to take home $100,000. That's why you're going to go through all this effort. Well, in order to make that happen, you've got to look at your numbers for the year. You're going to have to bring in $200,000 in gross commission income next year. You know that that's going to be 40 closings, 40 homes sold, and about $8 million in sales volume. You're going to want to split that. You're going to want to split that between the buyer and seller. In our plan, it was a 50-50. So you're going to bring in $100,000 on the buy side, about 20 buyer closings, and about $4 million in volume. On the sell side, you need to bring in about $100,000 in gross commission income, 20 closings next year, or about $4 million in sales volume. Then you want to break it down into your monthly numbers. On the monthly side, you're going to need to bring in just over $16,000 in gross commission income each month. That's about 3 to 4 homes sold, and just over $600,000 in sales volume. If you break that down in the buyer and seller side, on the buy side, you need to bring in $8,000 each month and sell 1 to 2 homes to make that happen, and have just over $300,000 in volume. On the sell side, you'll also be bringing in $8,000 in gross commission income, selling about 1 to 2 homes each month, and bringing in, again, just over $300,000 in sales volume. I like this one. This really helps me focus. I know that for the whole year, I'm going to need to have 1,600 conversations. Again, real life conversations where you're actually talking to someone on the phone or in person about real estate. And when I say someone, I mean someone who's already told you that they are interested in buying or selling a home. In other words, your leads. So that's what we're talking about, conversations with leads. People have already raised their hand and said they're interested. Well, if you'll do that and have these 1,600 conversations per year, it's going to break down to 133 conversations per month. And I think the key number for this entire plan, and why it's in the bold box, is you need 7 conversations per day. If you will talk to 7 of your leads per day, actually talk to them, then everything else is going to play out. So 7 conversations per day is going to equal $100,000 in your pocket at the end of the year. We break out the lead generation. How are you going to get those people that you're going to be able to talk to? We got past clients and sphere of influence. Your goal is to hit 20 closings next year. In order to do that, you need to bring in 40 leads from past clients and sphere of influence, 3 to 4 per month, 0.2 leads per day, which is about 1 per week. How are you going to do that? You're going to mail out your newspaper 12 times per year. You're going to call 3 times per year, and you're going to have 2 client parties next year. Next, you're going to have lead generation. The second lead generation method is the expireds. You want 10 closings next year from this. You need to bring in 100 leads for the year, 8 leads per month, 0.4 per day, which is basically about 2 to 3 a week. In order to do that, you're going to pull your expireds each day. You're going to call weekly for 12 weeks, mail weekly for 12 weeks, and that's going to make that work. You've got the next and the final lead generation method. Number 3 is internet leads. You want 10 closings next year from this source. You're going to need to bring in 500 leads next year, about 40 per month or 2 per day. The way you're going to do that is you're going to get your Real Pro System stealth site up and running. You're going to spend $10 per day on Facebook ads, put in 3 ads per day on Craigslist, and that will help you achieve your goal. You also want to keep your mind's eye on your budget. Make sure those numbers are in there so you don't overspend and end up reducing your net. So here's your big picture. You got $200,000 of gross commission income coming in next year. You're going to invest $40,000 with your broker in the split and thank them for their assistance. You got $20,000 going out to marketing and lead generation costs to help bring that business in. You got $30,000 going into staff and your operating costs. Maybe you have an assistant part-time or full-time at this point, and you've got some education costs to make sure you're staying on top of your game. That's going to bring you down to your $100,000 in take-home pay. Of course, that's before taxes, but that would just be like if you had a salary at some corporation somewhere. So you got $100,000 coming in at the end of the day for your efforts. I like this to be on my business plan. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve, it helps me clear and open up my mind so I can get my visualization going. So here's what your finished business plan looks like. It's this fantastic, simplistic, one-page plan that has all my important numbers on it, important concepts on it, and I can look at it real quickly, a quick reference each and every day. And in fact, that's what I recommend you do, is you just take this and you look at it for a couple minutes each day and get yourself focused and excited and motivated for the day. Let's go through a couple quick bonus ideas. Bonus idea number 1, I think you should print out your affirmations on the back side of the business plan. So I've showed you the front page, and you're probably fine with just that, but I think for extra motivation, you should print out your affirmations and put them on the back of your plan. So I went ahead and added this to your template that I'm going to give to you for free, and you'll be able to pick up. It'll be right there on the site. You can download it. It'll be, by the way, it'll be under the recordings, and can find it there. Okay, so you're going to use your own affirmation sheet, or you can use one on the template. If you already have one, it's great. Just post it on the back, but I threw this in the template for you, and it looks something like this on the right, which is kind of hard to read, so let's break it down. Here are just some of my affirmations that I had as I was moving through as a real estate agent, and I wanted to show you what they were. So number 1, I'm destined for greatness. I achieve my goals by helping others achieve their goals. I plan my work, I work my plan. I'm organized and follow a daily schedule. I use systems, technology, and teams to achieve my goals. I take home $100,000 per year from my super successful real estate practice. I easily close 40 homes per year, 3 to 4 homes per month. I have $50,000 cash in the bank. I own 10 rental units worth $1 million, generating $50,000 per year in passive income. I live below my means. I'm debt-free. I save 20% of my income every time I earn a commission. I am a millionaire. I love my wife and children. I provide them with the means to live a wonderful life. I spend quality time with my wife and kids each and every day. I exercise 5 times per week. I am in excellent physical shape. I eat healthy foods and drinks. I get things done. I do things now. I listen twice as much as I talk. I smile all the time. I love living my wonderful life. So I recommend you put those affirmations on the back of your business plan. And bonus idea number 2 is how I do that. I think you should take and print out the front of your plan, put the affirmations on the back, and then go down to a Kinko's or whatever you have, some kind of office supply store in your area, and have them laminate your business plan, again with the business plan on the front and the affirmations on the back. I recommend you not just get 1 copy, but say 3 copies, 1 for your office, 1 for beside your bed, and 1 for the shower. And then read it 3 times per day to stay focused and give yourself direction and motivation. I know this sounds a little odd, but I really think this is a great way to go. What you're going to do is each day, I would get up and you jump in the shower to get ready to go to work. Grab these affirmations, grab this business plan and affirmations, read the plan and read the affirmation quickly, and in the morning you're pretty clear-headed, so you can now put into your brain all the things you want to do. I recommend, if you can, to close your eyes and visualize each line after you read it and start putting a picture in your head of what you think this final thing is going to look like in your own mind's eye. I think that's one of the keys. Then, for throughout the rest of the day, sometime during the middle of the day, maybe during your lunch hour, go ahead at the office and do the same thing. Just step aside and read your plan on the front and the back. It's going to only take a couple minutes. You're going to get really fast at reading it. And then at night, before you go to bed, pick this up and take a quick look at it, read it front and back, and put those good thoughts in your head before you go to bed at night. The last part of this whole concept is to track. You need to track these numbers and make sure that you're moving in the right direction. So bonus idea number 3 is to use Mike's old tracking sheet and modify it for your business. So if you already have a tracking sheet, that's great. Make sure you're using it. I'm just going to give you another example of what you can do. I used mine on an Excel spreadsheet, but there's a lot of different ways to go. But I'll show you what I was doing. So right here you can see the Excel spreadsheet that I used. It's my closings and commission income per year. Here's what I would track. Along the top I had these are these columns that I would track, and I'd have close date and client's name and home sold address, and if we had collected earnest money, how much was it, and the home type, buyer or seller, the agent's name if it wasn't me, if there was somebody on my team who was working with this person. Next I had the sales price of the property, the commission percent that we were going to receive. That would give us the gross commission income, which was calculated. If you charge a transaction fee, it would go there, and then you'd have a total commission. If you have team members like buyer agents or listing agents, BA would be the buyer agent percent that you're paying out, and it would calculate how much that was in dollars, the buyer agent commission. Then that would leave the team commission, or the money that would go to the team itself, and then you've got whether this transaction is open or closed, and then the source of the business, R, which is the most important. How did you get this business? If you can keep tracking that, you can figure out what was profitable and what you can duplicate over and over again. So that's why I think you should track it on this sheet. Other things that we would track would be your actual activity each day and each week, and then put it into a monthly form as far as these items. Number of listing appointments that you set, how many listings did you take, how many expired or canceled, how many turned into contracts, and how many ended up closing. So that's your sell side, and then your buy side were your buyer appointments, how many did you set and go out on, how many agencies did you sign, how many times did you show the buyer, and then how many contracts did you write. And finally, how many buyer transactions did you close? Total contracts will sum up the sell side and the buy side for contracts and also for closings. And then oftentimes you'll have crash contracts, and you need to know how many times does that happen, and you can start finding out what your ratio is of keeping these things together through closing. So here's a big giant sheet that I had from years back, and it was some exciting times. We were bringing in somewhere between 40, 50, 60,000 in gross commission income each month, and this kind of just shows you, these were early months too. I think this was January and February, which are normally slower months, and we were really cooking that year. So you can see up at the top, those broken out. I tried to white out some of the addresses and names to keep that confidential, but you'll notice I'm tracking everything, and I think you should do something similar. At the bottom, you can see we're tracking how many listing appointments did we go on, and buyer appointments, and how many were those resulting in agreements and closings. So you're tracking everything in your business. I think it's critical to be tracking. If you don't think that you're hitting the goals that you want, start tracking. And what's going to happen is you're going to feel silly in the beginning because you're not hitting your numbers and you're putting zeros in or blanks, but just the process of writing it down or typing it in and watching it develop. Once you get one of those contracts, once you get one of those listings, you get motivated and excited, and just this process of tracking will push you forward faster than anything else I can think of. Whenever I've had a lull in my business, I've noticed it was because I stopped tracking. So you need to pick up tracking and start doing it every day to make sure that your goals are becoming a reality. So in summary, I think that you need to focus on the goal, the path, and then the track. What I'd like to do now is open up for some Q&A and answer the questions. If you have any questions for me about what we just went through, I went kind of quickly. Be sure to type your questions into the box on your screen, or if you're on the phone, press *2 to raise your hand. Again, if you're on the website, you're on the internet, go ahead and just type your questions in on the box, and I'll see those pop up over here. If you're on the phone, press *2, and I'll see that you raised your hand, and we can get your questions answered. All right, so let's start. I can see here we've got a bunch of questions came in. The first question is from Sally, and she asks, do you really read your plan in the shower, and why there? So yeah, I got to tell you, I think that was one of the most powerful things that I did, and I didn't come up with that on my own. Someone else had told me to do that. For some reason, in the early morning, when you're clear-headed and the hot water is coming in there, it's all steamy and whatever, and you're really not consumed by a bunch of junk in the day yet. Your mind is open, and you can just plug in this idea, this business plan into your brain. Also, those affirmations giving you all that positive reinforcement. It's just an incredible way to start the day, get focused, get motivated, know that you're on goal for a target. Anyway, I highly recommend it. Just make sure that's why you take your plan down and get it laminated, is so that the water is just going to bounce right off of it, of course. And anyway, it's phenomenal. Okay, let's see. The next question is from Ian. Ian asks, I'm a new agent. I like your tracking sheet, but I'm embarrassed to enter zeros or leave blanks. I think I'll get discouraged. Well, Ian, I understand what you're saying. Here's my recommendation. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Go ahead and fill that out. Follow and track what you're doing. There's just something mystical that happens. Your subconscious mind, it'll kind of notice the inconsistencies between your goals and the reality, and it's going to adjust, and it's going to bring them together I think you're really going to be shocked and surprised that it may not happen initially, the first day or something, but within a couple weeks or a couple months, you're going to start to see your production increasing because your mind is trying to make the reality out of your goals because that's what you've been focusing on so much. So again, the key is to read your business plan and your goals and those affirmations, and then tie them with the tracking. Again, your mind is trying to bring those realities together. There's something in there, I'll just tell you, it works. So just trust me, go for it. Even if you're entering zeros or leaving some blanks, keep going, and you'll be amazed that all of a sudden things are going to start percolating and happening. Okay, we've got a question here from Jennifer. Jennifer asks, do you ever modify your plan throughout the year? Okay. Yes, you can. You certainly can do that, and many agents do. However, I recommend you stick to the plan for at least 3 to 4 months before you modify it. It may take some time for this thing to meld. And I know I'm sounding kind of strange here, but in your mind, it may take a little while for it to come together, and for your mind, your subconscious mind, to accept it. And then you're going to start to see these results. So don't change too quickly. Stay focused on that goal, and I think you're going to be amazed how your mind will come up with creative solutions, and that it'll bring your reality and these goals together, and these results are going to really start surprising you. So stay focused and keep moving forward, and resist the temptation to modify that plan too early. Okay, let's see. We've got a last question here. Gilbert asks, where can I find the business plan template? Sure. So that's going to be on. Okay, so it's time to wrap up the session. That was a lot of fun. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you. So that's it for now. Goodbye.